Hi all, in this lecture I will be talking about ABC analysis. ABC analysis in inventory management is one of the most commonly used tools. So what is ABC analysis? Similar to inventory management, it is actually the planning and controlling of inventories in order to meet the competitive priorities of the organization. This is what we said for inventory management right before. Okay, so, as I also said before, ABC analysis is pretty much similar to Pareto principle. Let's remember what Pareto principle says it. Pareto principle, which that states that 80% of overall consumption value, overall revenue, comes from only 20% of the items. Plainly or simply, it means that 20% of your products actually generate 80% of your revenues. So A items are the items that are sold frequently or that generate more revenue than others. So typically A items account for 20% of all the goods you have, and that contributes 70 to 80% of the annual consumption value, annual income of the items. B items takes 30% to portion and generate 15 to 20% of your value, and C items are the least income generator or least cost generator items. However, it takes the highest portion of the SKUs we have. So in this example, C items take 50% of all the goods and contribute only 5% of our annual income. So there are different criteria we can use to classify SKUs or items in our company. So these criteria might be, as I said before, profit margin or sales volume or unit cost for inventory management. If our many of our items are supplied from suppliers in different countries, lead time become an important issue. Then we can even use lead time as a criterion to classify items, okay, or delivery time, order quantity. So according to your strategies, according to your performance measures, you can choose one of those or even something different criterion and try to classify your SKUs. From the perspective of inventory management, A items usually refer to SKUs that should be monitored or controlled or counted more frequently or carefully than others. So these are critical items for inventory management. We should monitor them carefully, we should monitor them frequently, and in many companies we, because of the legislations, we have to count because of the legislations and accounting purposes, we have to count our items in stock at least once in a year, and many companies do that several times in a year because they want to make sure that if their data is accurate or not in their, let's say, warehouse management system or in their records, okay. And we know that A items are critical items for our income or for inventory costs. We should monitor them carefully. For BI, so what do I mean with frequently? Maybe once in a month, once in every quarter, okay? Depending on your operation strategies. B items are less frequently controlled or monitored than A items, but more frequently than C items. C items are the rarely controlled or counted items because they have very less, they have the least effect on our income or inventory costs. And we also should keep in mind that, okay, if you have a seasonality, okay, in your business, if let's say that if some products are have very high demand in the first 6 months and very low demand in the last 6 months in a year, it means that those items are very active in the first 6 months, but then they are not very active in the next 6 months. So those items might be accounted class A items in the first 6 months, then they might be either class B or class C items in the last 6 months. So that's why we should keep in mind that the runners of yesterday may be the sleepers of tomorrow and vice versa. Okay. Uh, if you have a seasonality, we should keep this phrase in mind. Okay, let's do an example problem and see how we can determine these classes. Let's start with a simple example. In this simple example problem, we do have 50 SKUs. 50 SKUs. And these are the SKU IDs. Remember, we defined SKU before. SKU stands for stock keeping unit. Okay, and we have their sales in 10,000 units in 2019, and I do also have their sales price, unit sales price. And the question is, determine the classes of SKUs according to their contribution to the company's annual revenue. So let's calculate annual revenue generated by each SKU. So for this purpose, I just need to multiply total amount of sales of AB001 by its sales price. And I'm going to do this for all SKUs. Okay? So then I'm going to calculate the total revenue generated by my SKUs, which is the sum of total income. Okay. Next, I'm going to calculate the percentage of contribution by each SKU, which is their contribution, their revenue by total revenue. Okay. So I'm going to do this for all. Hold on. I forgot to fix that value. Okay. Good. So what do we see? We see that AB001, this SKU, contributed my revenue with a percentage of 1.4%. Okay. AB005 contributed 3.3% or something. So then what I'm going to do, in order to determine the most contributing items or the least contributing items, I need to rank them. I need to order them from highest to lowest. Okay, so let me choose my table and go ahead and do custom sort. Choose the row. Which row? Percentage contribution from highest, largest to smallest. Okay, so immediately we see that AC003 has the highest contribution with a percentage of 12, almost 12%. Okay, and then I'm going to calculate their cumulative contribution. So for the last SKU, the cumulative contribution will be 100%. As you guys remember, we just said that A items, where is that? A items usually takes 20% of the portion, B takes 30%, C takes 50% of all goods. Okay, so using those numbers, I can say that because I do have 50 SKUs, I can say that 10 SKUs might be class A items, 15 SKUs might be B, and 25 SKUs might be C items. How did I get them? 50 times 20% is 10%. Okay, so the first 10 SKUs, the first 10 SKUs might be assigned as class A items. And the next 15 SKUs might be assigned as class B and the last 25 SKUs will be my C items, C class items. So in this example, what do we see? There are 10 class A items, which are these, and they contributed my revenue with a percentage of 60%. So 60% of my 2019 revenue were generated by these SKUs. And then 15 SKUs, which are these, which are the red colored SKUs, they had almost 21 percentage. They generated 21 percentage revenue in 2019, and the last 25 SKUs are these, and they had 16, almost 16 percentage contribution in my revenue. Okay, so this is a simple example. So if you, okay, this shouldn't be always true. Okay, you can simply change their percentages. You can say that A class items might be 15 percentage, B class items might be 25, and then the rest might be 7%. Then you just need to choose the first 8 SKUs as class A items, then the next 13 SKUs as class B items, and so on. Or if you would like to do manually, okay, according to your experience, because you know that you know SKUs better than all other people, okay, you can go from the highest to the lowest and say that, hey, I would like to assign only these SKUs A items because they all have more than 5 percentage contribution in my revenue. You can also determine each class of items manually. And because in this example we only had 50 SKUs, it was easy to handle it, right? But in practice, in business, we usually have more than 10,000 SKUs. Like in this example, this is a real data from a company's distribution center, okay? And these are 2014 data, which shows the inputs and outputs, okay, the amount of stocks they kept in their storage area. And according to their 2014, how many rows in this Excel spreadsheet? 150,000 rows, okay? Each row shows a process, okay? And we also have 2015 data using pivot table. I calculated how many SKUs they had. So I immediately saw that they had how many count, okay, 81,000, okay, 81,000, and these are the total number of units. So then I also did the same analysis. Now I considered their total cost. I used unit cost of each product, and then according to the number of units they kept in their stock, this is the total amount of stocks they kept it. Okay, and I calculated inventory cost for each SKU, and I ranked them from highest to lowest, calculated the percentage contribution in the inventory cost, and then I manually determine which items will be located in class A. And I said that if an SKU's contribution is more than 1%, okay, I assign it to class A. So these yellow colored SKUs are class A items, which caused 44% of total inventory cost. Okay, so how many of them? Only 22 of them. 22 divided by the number of SKUs, we see that 0.02 percentage of all SKUs are located in class A. Then how can we determine class B? By looking at this, I can say that class B SKUs will have at least 0.1 percentage, okay, 0.1 percentage. So I can cut it from right here. So they might be assigned as class B, and the rest more than 10,000 SKUs will be located in class C, and which they will cause almost 28% of my inventory cost. Okay, so in practice you have to play with those numbers, and this is the Pareto front of this example. As you see that this is a typical Pareto front, and this is the cumulative percentage. Okay, good. This is enough for ABC analyzers. In our next lecture I will be talking about economic order quantity. Okay, have a nice day, take care.